The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 47 species lived together in peace. They had laws. They had order. They believed they understood everything about war and survival. They were wrong. When the sensors detected faster-than-light travel from the Sol system, the Council sent a delegation to welcome the new species. Humans, they called themselves. Small creatures from a small planet orbiting a small yellow star. The Council expected to find primitive beings, barely able to fly between worlds. They expected gratitude. They expected fear. What they found was a battle. Ambassador Thelvari stood on the observation deck of the Council vessel, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Before him, space burned. 12 human ships fought against hundreds of Rekshi drones. The Rekshi were the nightmare of the galaxy. They consumed worlds. They destroyed civilizations. 300 years ago, the Council had declared them unconquerable and simply avoided their territory. But these humans were not avoiding anything. Captain Park Doin stood on the bridge of the horizon, blood running down his face from a cut above his eye. His ship shook as another blast hit the hull. Around him, his crew worked in desperate silence. They had been fighting for 6 hours. 6 hours against an enemy that outnumbered them 20-1. "Lieutenant Kim," he said, his voice steady despite everything. "Status report." Lieutenant Kim Yuna looked up from her console. She was young, only 28 years old, but her eyes held the weight of someone much older. "We have lost 9 ships, Captain. The Brave Star, the Morning Light, the Soul's Pride. All gone. Only 3 vessels remain." Park Doan closed his eyes for a moment. Each ship meant hundreds of lives, friends, family, gone in fire and silence. And the enemy? "We have destroyed approximately 140 drone ships, but more are coming from the carrier. We estimate 300 still active. 300 against 3. Park Doan almost smiled. Almost. Then we continue fighting. On the Council observation vessel, Ambassador Thelvari could not understand what he was seeing. The human ships were small, primitive by galactic standards. Their weapons were crude. Their shields were weak. And yet they fought like nothing he had ever witnessed. One human ship, badly damaged and trailing fire, suddenly accelerated toward the largest Rekshi drone. It was suicide. There was no other word for it. The ship crashed directly into the drone, and both exploded in a brilliant flash of light. They destroyed their own vessel," whispered one of the Council observers. "They killed themselves to destroy one enemy." Thelvari said nothing. He watched as another human ship repeated the same action. And another. These creatures were insane. Absolutely insane. On the horizon, Kim Yuna reported each sacrifice with a trembling voice. "The Dawn Walker has rammed the enemy command drone. Captain, and his crew. They're gone, sir." Park Do-yoon gripped the armrest of his chair until his knuckles turned white. Captain O had been his friend for 20 years. They had trained together. They had dreamed of the stars together. "He died well," Park Do-yoon said quietly. "He died human." The battle continued for another hour. The humans used every trick, every desperate strategy. They turned their damaged reactors into bombs. They used debris as weapons. They fought with a fury that the Rekshi had never encountered. And slowly, impossibly, the Rekshi began to retreat. The remaining drones pulled back toward their carrier. The carrier itself, damaged from multiple suicide attacks, turned and began to move away. They were leaving. The unconquerable Rekshi were running from 12 small ships. Well, 3 small ships now. When the last Rekshi vessel disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Park Do-yoon finally allowed himself to breathe. His ship was barely holding together. More than half his crew was dead or injured. But they had won. Humanity had won. "Captain," Kim Yuna said, her voice strange. "We are receiving a communication. It's not human." Park Do-hyun looked at the screen. A vessel he did not recognize hung in space nearby. It was beautiful, elegant, clearly far more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. "Open the channel." Ambassador Thelvari's face appeared on the screen. He was clearly not human. Blue skin, 4 eyes, no nose. But Park Do-hyun had seen stranger things in the last 3 years. "Human vessel," Thelvari said, his voice translated by some advanced technology. "I am Ambassador Thelvari of the Galactic Council. We came to welcome your species to the galactic community. We did not expect this." Park Do-hyun stood up slowly, painfully. He wiped the blood from his face and straightened his torn uniform. "Ambassador," he said, "I am Captain Park Do-hyun of the United Earth Navy. I apologize that you had to witness that. I apologize for the mess." He gestured at the debris floating in space around them. "We were not expecting visitors." Thelvari stared at the human. This small, fragile creature had just survived a battle that would have destroyed most council fleets. He was bleeding, exhausted, surrounded by the bodies of his fallen crew. And he was apologizing for the mess. "Captain Park," Thelvari said carefully, "the Vrekshi are considered the most dangerous species in the galaxy. No one has ever driven them back. How? How did you do this?" Park Do-hyun smiled, though there was no joy in it. "We have been fighting them for 3 years, Ambassador. Ever since they attacked our colonies on the edge of the solar system. We learned. 3 years? And this fleet of yours. How many ships does Earth possess?" Park Do-hyun glanced at Kim Yuna. She nodded slightly. "Ambassador Thelvari," Park Do-hyun said, "I think there may be some confusion. This was not our fleet. This was a patrol group. 12 ships that we send out to monitor enemy movement and test their strength." Thelvari felt something cold spread through his body. "A patrol group?" "Yes." Park Do-hyun's eyes were hard now, ancient despite his young face. "What you witnessed was only our initial wave. Our actual fleet is waiting at Earth. If you would like to discuss an alliance, I suggest we go there. The Vrekshi will return. And when they do, we will need all the friends we can get." The communication ended. Ambassador Thelvari stood in silence for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. "Contact the High Council immediately. Tell them everything has changed." The council chamber on Nexus Prime was the largest structure in the known galaxy. It could hold representatives from all 47 member species. It had stood for 12,000 years as a symbol of peace and cooperation. Today, it held only fear. Ambassador Thelvari had sent his message 3 days ago. Since then, the chamber had been in chaos. Species that had not spoken in centuries were now talking. Species that had been enemies were now allies in their shared terror. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What were humans? High Counselor Velphus, the eldest of the Vethkai and leader of the council, called for silence. Slowly, the chamber quieted. All eyes turned to the center platform, where 3 humans stood. Ambassador Choi Minho was the tallest of them. He was 50 years old, with gray in his black hair and deep lines on his face. He had been a soldier before he became a diplomat. The council could see it in the way he stood, the way his eyes moved across the room, counting exits and threats. Beside him stood Dr. Lee Sunwoo, a small woman with glasses and kind eyes. She was a scientist, a xenobiologist who had spent her life studying alien life forms. She had never expected to stand before actual aliens. The third human was not physically present. Admiral Baek Ji-ya appeared as a hologram, transmitted from Earth. She was a hard woman, with short gray hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. She wore a military uniform covered in medals and badges that the Council did not understand. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Choi began, his voice calm and clear. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I know that our arrival has caused concern. I hope to ease some of that concern today. A representative from the Kethari species stood up. He was tall and thin, with skin like blue crystal. Ease our concern? Your species drove back the Vrekshi. The Vrekshi, who destroyed the entire Morn civilization. The Vrekshi, who we have feared for 300 years. How are we supposed to feel? Ambassador Choi nodded slowly. I understand your fear. Perhaps it would help if I explained our history with the Vrekshi. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. This is Earth, our home. 3 years ago, we detected a Vrekshi scout fleet approaching our outer colonies. We had just developed faster-than-light travel. We had no advanced weapons. We had no experience with alien warfare. The display changed to show burning colonies, destroyed stations, floating bodies in the cold of space. They attacked without warning. They destroyed 3 lunar colonies in the first hour. 40,000 humans died in a single day. The chamber was silent. We sent messages asking for peace. They did not respond. We sent messages asking what they wanted. They did not respond. They only attacked. Again and again. Dr. Lee Sunwoo stepped forward. I studied the Vrekshi during the war. They are not interested in communication. They are not interested in trade or territory. They exist only to consume. They see other species as food, as resources, as nothing. So we fought. Ambassador Choi continued. We had no choice. Fight or die. Our species chose to fight. The Kethari representative sat down slowly. But how? How did you fight them? Our combined fleets could not defeat them 300 years ago. Admiral Beek Jie spoke for the first time. Her hologram flickered slightly as she moved. Humans are different from your species. We evolved on a harsh world. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters. Our history is written in blood. We know how to suffer. We know how to survive. And we know how to kill. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. In the first year of the war, we lost badly. They destroyed our colonies. They pushed us back to Earth. We lost millions. Admiral Beek's voice was flat, emotionless. But we learned. We studied their technology. We captured their drones. We took them apart and understood them. Impossible, said a representative from the Velinari species. It took our scientists 2 centuries to understand Vrekshi technology. Dr. Lee Sunwoo smiled slightly. Humans are creative. When our survival is threatened, we become very creative very quickly. We rebuilt our entire fleet in 18 months. We developed new weapons, new tactics, new ways of thinking. And now? High Counselor Velfa spoke, his ancient voice echoing through the chamber. How many ships does humanity possess? Ambassador Choi looked at Admiral Beek. She nodded. The patrol fleet you witnessed was 12 ships, Admiral Beek said. Standard patrol size. We send them out to test enemy strength and report back. And your actual fleet? 12,000 warships. Hidden in asteroid fields, in the atmospheres of gas giants, and places the Vrekshi cannot scan. We built them in secret. We trained crews in secret. We prepared for the final battle in secret. The chamber erupted in noise. 12,000 ships? That was more than most council species possessed. That was more than some coalitions possessed. High Counselor Vel has raised his hand for silence. Why did you not contact us? Why did you not ask for help? Ambassador Choi's face showed pain for a moment. We tried. In the first month of the war, we sent messages to every signal we could detect. We begged for help. We received no response. Thalvari stood up. We did not know. We thought the Vrekshi were attacking empty space. We did not realize a species lived in that system. I know, Ambassador Choi said. I do not blame you. But you must understand what that silence meant to us. We believed we were alone. We believed no one would save us. So we saved ourselves. Admiral Beek Ga looked at the council with cold eyes. The Vrekshi will return. What you saw was only a small part of their force. Their main hive fleet is coming. We have detected it on long-range sensors. It will arrive in approximately 1 year. How large? Velthas asked. 50,000 ships. Maybe more. Fear spread through the chamber like poison. We cannot defeat that alone, Admiral Beek continued. Even with our full fleet, we would lose. But together, with the Council's forces, we might have a chance. Ambassador Choi stepped forward. This is why we are here. Not to threaten you. Not to frighten you. We are here to ask for alliance. The Vrekshi will not stop with Earth. After they consume us, they will consume you. This is not our war alone. This is a war for the entire galaxy. High Counselor Velthas looked at the three humans for a long moment. Then he looked at the council members around him. He saw fear in their eyes. But he also saw something else. Something that had not existed in this chamber for 300 years. Hope. We will vote, he said finally. But I believe the answer is already clear. The age of hiding from the Vrekshi is over. It is time to fight. Ambassador Choi Minho allowed himself a small smile. It was the first step. The first of many. Outside the chamber, Dr. Lee Sunwoo touched his arm. Do you think they will really help us? Ambassador Choi looked back at the massive doors of the council chamber. They will help us. They have no choice. The Vrekshi are coming for everyone. And now, everyone knows it. The war for the galaxy had truly begun. Seoul Memorial Command Center sat deep beneath the mountains of Korea. It was the heart of Earth's defense, a fortress built in the darkest days of the war. General Han Yoonji walked its corridors every day, remembering the ghost that walked beside her. She was 52 years old, but she felt much older. Her black hair had turned white during the Battle of Mars. Her left arm was mechanical, a replacement for the one she had lost fighting Vrekshi. On the red soil of Olympus Mons, she had seen things that would haunt her until she died. Today, she was preparing for worse things. General, said her aide, a young man named Shin Taiwan. He was an engineer, not a soldier. But the war had made soldiers of everyone. The council delegation is requesting a tour of our facilities. Han Yoonji nodded. Let them see. Let them understand what we have built. She thought back to the beginning, 3 years ago. Earth had been so innocent then. So foolish. They had just discovered faster than light travel. They had dreamed of meeting friendly aliens, of joining a peaceful galaxy. They had sent their first colony ships with hopes and songs. The Vrekshi had found those colony ships. General Han remembered the first message from Lunar Station 7. A young woman, barely 20 years old, screaming into the camera as the walls melted around her. They're eating them. They're eating everyone. Then static. Then silence. 40,000 people died that day. 40,000 men, women, and children, consumed by monsters from the stars. In a different part of the facility, Corporal Yoon Ji-soo was cleaning her rifle. She was 19 years old. She had been 16 when the war started. She did not remember peace. She did not remember a time before fear. Her mother had died in the attack on Luna. Her father had died in the Battle of Mars. She had no family left. Only her unit. Only the other soldiers who had become her brothers and sisters in blood. You thinking about them again? Asked her friend, Private Kwan Myre. Jisoo nodded. I was 14 when Mom died. I can barely remember her face anymore. Myre sat down beside her. You'll remember. When this is over, you'll remember everything. The good and the bad. If this is ever over. Myre smiled sadly. The general says the aliens are joining us. The whole galaxy is going to fight together. And you believe her? I believe that we're still alive. After everything, we're still here. That has to mean something. In the engineering section, Shin Taiwan was explaining human weapons to a group of council observers. They were Velinari, tall beings with silver skin and gentle eyes. They had been scientists for 10,000 years. They had never built a weapon in their lives. This is the Sunfire Cannon, Shin Taiwan said, pointing to a massive device on the table. It uses compressed plasma heated to stellar temperatures. One shot can cut through Rekshi armor like paper. A Velinari scientist touched the cannon with trembling fingers. You built this? In 3 years? We built this in 8 months. How? This technology is... This should take decades to develop. Shin Taiwan's eyes were dark. Necessity. When your children are being eaten, you learn fast. When your cities are burning, you stop sleeping and start working. We had no choice. Build better weapons or die. He walked to another table, where a strange device hummed quietly. This is the Ghost Drive. It makes our ships invisible to Vrekshi sensors. We developed it by studying captured Vrekshi technology. Your scientists took 200 years to understand their systems. We took 6 months. Impossible, the Velinari whispered. We thought so too. But then we watched our friends die. Then we watched our families burn. After that, nothing seemed impossible. Only necessary. General Han Yunji joined them, her mechanical arm clicking softly as she moved. You want to understand humans? I will tell you a story. The council observers gathered around her. 2 years ago, the Vrekshi landed on Mars. They brought 2 million drones. We had 40,000 soldiers. Everyone said we should retreat. Everyone said Mars was lost. But Mars held our mining stations. Mars held our factories. If we lost Mars, we would lose the ability to build ships. She paused, her eyes distant. I led the defense of Olympus Mons, the tallest mountain in the solar system. We turned it into a fortress. For 6 months, we fought. Day and night, wave after wave of Rekshi drones came at us. We ran out of ammunition. We fought with knives. We fought with rocks. We fought with our bare hands. Her mechanical arm flexed. I lost my arm pulling a Vrekshi away from a child. A little boy 8 years old. His name was Kang Junwoo. I held the Vrekshi's throat until it died, even as it tore my arm off. Did the child survive? Velinari asked. Han Yunji smiled, a rare expression on her hard face. He survived. He is a pilot now. 16 years old. Flying combat missions. He named his ship after me. The observers were silent. We lost 30,000 soldiers at Olympus Mons, but we killed almost 1 million Vrekshi. And in the end, we held. Mars stayed human. And from Mars, we launched the counterattack that pushed them back. She looked at each observer in turn. This is what humans are. We break, but we do not stop. We bleed, but we do not surrender. We die, but we take our enemies with us. You have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years because no one challenged you. You have known peace so long that you have forgotten what war truly means. We have not forgotten. We never forgot. A message came through on the communication system. General Han listened, and her face grew hard. The Vrekshi are coming, she announced. Long-range sensors have detected their primary hive fleet. 50,000 ships. They will arrive in 10 months. The observers made sounds of fear, But General Han Yunji only smiled. "Good," she said. "We have been waiting. We have been preparing. And now, we will show them what happens when you attack humanity's home." She turned to the observers. "Go back to your council. Tell them to bring every ship they have. Tell them to bring every soldier, every weapon, every resource. The final battle is coming. And this time, we will end the Vrekshi forever." Corporal Yoon Jae-soo heard the announcement over the base speakers. She looked at her rifle, clean and ready. She thought of her mother. She thought of her father. She thought of everyone she had lost. "For you," she whispered. "For all of you. I will fight until there is nothing left." Around her, 100 other soldiers made the same silent promise. Earth was ready. The Orion Threshold was a region of space between Earth and the galactic core. It was here that humanity chose to make its stand. It was here that the future of the galaxy would be decided. Fleet Admiral Oh Seung-ho stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching the stars. He was 60 years old, the oldest serving officer in the Earth Navy. He had been a teacher before the war, a gentleman who loved books and music. The war had made him into something else. Something harder dot behind him. The Allied fleet spread across space like a river of light. 30,000 council ships had come. Not all of them, but enough. The Velanari brought their science vessels, converted into weapons platforms. The Gathari brought their crystal ships, fast and deadly. Even the ancient Vethkai came. Ships that had not seen battle in 5,000 years. And among them, hidden until this moment, were the ships of Earth. "Admiral," said Commander Park Soya, his second in command. "It is time." Oh Seung-ho nodded. He pressed a button on his console, and his voice went out to every ship in the fleet. "This is Fleet Admiral Oh Seung-ho of the United Earth Navy. To our allies from the Galactic Council, I thank you for standing with us today. You have shown courage that honors your ancestors." He paused, looking at the sensor readings. The Vrekshi were coming. Thousands of signatures, filling the screen like a disease. "To the forces of Earth, I give you a different message. Reveal yourselves." Across the battlefield, space rippled and changed. From asteroid fields, from the shadows of planets, from the darkness between stars, ships appeared. One by one, then dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. The ghost drives deactivated, and humanity's true fleet became visible. 12,000 warships. Hidden for years. Waiting for this moment. On the council ships, officers gasped in shock. They had known humans were strong. They had not known this. "My God," whispered a Kethari captain. They hid an entire armada. Admiral Oh Seung-ho allowed himself a small smile. "Now," he said, "let us welcome our guests." The Vrekshi fleet arrived like a wave of darkness. 50,000 ships, more biomass than metal, more hunger than thought. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They only consumed. But today, something would consume them. All ships. Admiral Oh commanded. Attack. The battle began with fire. Wing Commander Moon Hae-jin led the fighter squadrons. She was 35 years old, the best pilot in the fleet. She had shot down more Vrekshi drones than anyone alive. Her call sign was Phoenix, because she had survived 6 crashes that should have killed her. "Phoenix Squadron," she called out, her fighter dancing through the chaos. "Target the carrier's left side. That's where their coordination nodes are." Her squadron followed her into hell. Vrekshi drones swarmed around them like angry insects. Plasma fire lit the darkness. Ships exploded. Friends died, but Phoenix kept flying. "Break left," she shouted. "Now!" Her squadron scattered as a massive Vrekshi blast cut through where they had been. 3 fighters did not make it. 3 more friends gone. Moon Hae-jin did not have time to mourn. She pushed her fighter forward toward the enemy carrier. It was enormous, bigger than a city, bigger than a mountain. It was the heart of the Rekshi attack. If she could destroy it, the entire enemy fleet would lose coordination. "Phoenix to Unity," she transmitted. "I have a shot at the carrier's core, but I can't pull out. It's a one-way trip." Admiral Oh Sung-ho's voice came back, heavy with pain. "Hai Jin, there must be another way." "There isn't. You know there isn't. If that carrier stays active, we lose. Everyone dies. Earth dies. Silence on the line." "I have a daughter," Moon Hai-jin said quietly. "Her name is Moon Hana. She's 8 years old. She lives with my mother in Bizen. Tell her I love her. Tell her mommy is sorry she couldn't come home. Tell her to be brave." "I will tell her," Admiral Oh promised, his voice breaking. "Thank you." Moon Hai-jin smiled, even though no one could see it. Phoenix out. She pushed her fighter to maximum speed. Around her, the last 3 pilots of her squadron followed without being asked. They would not let her die alone. The carrier's defenses tried to stop them. Drones swarmed. Cannons fired. One by one, her squadron fell. But Moon Hai-jin flew on, dodging death by centimeters, her hands moving faster than thought. The carrier's core was ahead. A massive energy nexus that controlled thousands of drones. One shot could destroy it. One shot could save the fleet. "For Hannah," Moon Hai-jin whispered. "For everyone." She fired every weapon her fighter had. Missiles, plasma, everything. Then, as the core began to explode, she flew directly into it. The carrier died in a flash of light that could be seen across the battlefield. On the Unity, Admiral Oh Sung-ho watched the explosion. Tears ran down his old face. But he did not have time for grief. "The carrier is down," Commander Park shouted. "The Rekshi are losing coordination." It was true. Without the carrier, the Rekshi drones became confused, crashing into each other, firing at random. The Council ships pressed forward. Earth's fleet cut through the enemy like a knife. For hours, the battle raged. Ships died on both sides. Heroes were made and forgotten in moments. The Rekshi threw everything they had at the Allied fleet. But humanity would not break. The Council would not run dot, and slowly, impossibly, the tide turned. The Rekshi began to retreat. For only the second time in galactic history, the unconquerable swarm was running. "Do not let them escape," Admiral Oh ordered. "Pursue and destroy." The Allied fleet chased the Rekshi through space. They hunted them for 3 days. They destroyed every ship they could find. They showed no mercy because the Rekshi had shown none. When it was finally over, the battlefield was silent. Debris floated everywhere. The bodies of the dead drifted among the wreckage. 40% of the Council fleet was gone. 60% of Earth's fleet was destroyed. But the Rekshi primary high fleet no longer existed. Admiral Oh Sung-ho sat in his chair, exhausted beyond words. Commander Park brought him a cup of tea, a simple gesture in the middle of so much death. "We won," she said quietly. "We won," he agreed. "But at what cost?" He thought of Moon Hai-jin. He thought of her daughter, waiting at home for a mother who would never return. He thought of all the mothers and fathers and children who would never see their families again. "We need to send a message to Earth," he said finally. Tell them the Rekshi are finished. Tell them their children did not die for nothing. Tell them we can finally start rebuilding." Commander Park nodded. "And what about the Council?" Admiral Oh looked out at the stars, at the broken ships of dozens of species floating together in death. "Tell them that humanity keeps its promises. We said we would fight beside them. We did. We said we would end the Rekshi. We did. And now we will help them rebuild what was lost. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in 3 years, he allowed himself to hope that the war was over. The future could finally begin. 1 year had passed since the Battle of the Orion Threshold. 1 year since the HFY fleet burned. 1 year since the galaxy learned what humans truly were. President Kang Soyan stood before the mirror in her quarters on Nexus Prime, adjusting her formal dress. She was 48 years old, the youngest president in Earth's history. She had been elected 3 months after the war ended, chosen by a people desperate for healing. Today, she would address the new Galactic Council for the first time. "Are you ready?" asked Ambassador Choi Minho. He was older now, his hair completely gray. The war had aged him in ways that numbers could not measure, but his eyes still held kindness. "I have to be," she answered. "The whole galaxy is watching. They are watching because they respect us now, because they fear us, perhaps, but also because they believe in us." President Kang smiled. "Then I will try not to disappoint them." The council chamber had been rebuilt. It was larger now, with new seats for humanity and for 3 other species who had joined after seeing the Alliance's victory. The old Council of 47 had become the new Council of 50-1. As President Kang walked to the central platform, she saw faces from 100 worlds. Some looked at her with admiration, some with caution, some with something that might have been hope. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady and clear. "1 year ago, we stood together against the greatest threat this galaxy has ever known. We bled together. We died together. And together, we won." She paused, looking across the chamber. "I know that many of you are still afraid of humanity. I understand. We are different from you. We are younger, more aggressive, more intense. 3 years of war made us into something that even we do not fully recognize." She took a deep breath. "But I want you to understand something. We did not fight because we wanted war. We fought because we had something worth protecting. Our families, our children, our future. And now we want to protect something larger. We want to protect all of you." High Counselor Velthas, ancient and wise, leaned forward. "President Kang, how can we trust that humanity's aggression will not turn against us?" It was the question everyone wanted to ask. The question that hung over every meeting, every negotiation. President Kang nodded. "You cannot trust words. Words are easy. So instead, I offer you actions. Starting today, Earth will reduce its military fleet by half. We will share our technology with any species that asks. We will send teachers, doctors, engineers to any world that needs them. We will prove our intentions through deeds, not promises." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Reducing their fleet? Sharing technology? This was not what anyone expected. "Why?" asked the Kethari representative. "Why would you weaken yourselves?" President Kang smiled. "Because we are not weak. Weapons do not make us strong. Our people make us strong. Our spirit makes us strong. And that spirit says we build, we help, we heal. The war is over. It is time to be more than warriors." On Earth, in a small house in Bizen, an old woman was teaching a young girl to paint. The girl was 9 years old now, with her mother's eyes and her mother's brave heart. "Grandma," said Munhana, "tell me about Mom again." The old woman smiled sadly. "Your mother was the bravest pilot in the fleet. She saved millions of people. The Admiral told me she said she loved me. Before she went. She loved you more than anything in the universe. Everything she did for you." Hannah was quiet for a moment, mixing colors on her palette. Then she said, "I'm going to be a pilot too. When I'm older, I'm going to protect people like Mom did." Her grandmother hugged her tight. "You will be wonderful at whatever you choose." But remember, there are many ways to be brave. Your mother fought so that you would not have to. In the rebuilt Seoul Memorial Command Center, Admiral Beek Ga was meeting with her alien counterparts. For the first time in history, a joint Human Council defense force was being created. Ships from a dozen species would serve together, train together, protect each other. This is unprecedented, said the Vethkai Admiral, a being so old that he had seen civilizations rise and fall. Our species have never worked so closely before. Admiral Beek nodded. War changes things. Sometimes for the worse. But sometimes, if we are lucky, for the better. You humans are strange. You fight like demons, but then you offer peace like saints. We can tame multitudes, Admiral Beek said, and almost smiled. That is what makes us human. On a distant world, in a colony that had once been devastated by Rekshi, Corporal Yoon Jisoo was helping to build a school. She had left the military 6 months ago. She had killed enough. Now she wanted to create. Beside her, alien children played with human children. They did not care about species or history or war. They only cared about games and laughter and the strange joy of making new friends. A veterinary child tugged at Jisoo's sleeve. Miss Yoon, what were humans like before? Before what? Before you came to the stars. What were you like? Jisoo thought about it. We were dreamers. We looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. We told stories about brave heroes and terrible monsters. We hoped that someday we would find friends among the lights in the sky. And did you? Find friends? Jisoo looked at the children around her, at the half-built school, at the 2 suns setting over the alien horizon. Yes, she said. We found the best friends we could have hoped for. Back on Nexus Prime, President Kang's speech was ending. The chamber was silent, every being listening to her final words. We came to this galaxy as strangers, she said. We met you in war and fire and death. But we do not want to be remembered as warriors. We want to be remembered as friends, as partners, as the species that helped build a better galaxy. She looked at the assembled representatives, at the hope and fear and wonder in their eyes. The old council ruled for 12,000 years through careful neutrality. The new council will rule through active cooperation. We will not ignore threats and hope they pass us by. We will not abandon species that need help. We will face the future together, whatever it brings. High Counselor Velthus rose slowly. President Kang, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity as a full and permanent member. Your species has proven itself in ways we never imagined possible. We are honored to call you allies. We are honored to call you friends. Applause filled the chamber. Not from everyone, not without reservation, but enough. Enough to show that something had truly changed in the crowd. Ambassador Choi Minho watched with tears in his eyes. He thought of all the people who had died to reach this moment. He thought of Captain Park Do-yeon, who had stood bloody and defiant against impossible odds. He thought of Moon Hai-jin, flying into the heart of darkness to save millions she would never meet. They were gone. But their sacrifice had not been wasted. A young cadet approached him after the ceremony. He was barely 18, with bright eyes and a familiar name. Ambassador Choi? I'm Cadet Park Do-yeon. My father was the captain of the Horizon. The ambassador's breath caught. Your father was one of the bravest men I ever met. I know. That's why I joined the academy. Not to fight wars, but to prevent them. To explore. To discover. To make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Ambassador Choi put his hand on the young man's shoulder. Your father would be very proud. Cadet Park smiled. The same smile his father had worn on that terrible, wonderful day when humanity first showed the galaxy what they were made of. Later that night, a council historian sat in her office, recording for posterity. When we first met humanity, she wrote, we asked ourselves if they were a threat. We had the question wrong. The real question was this: what happens when a species evolves not despite adversity, but because of it? She paused, looking out her window at the stars. The answer stands before us. They call themselves human. They are fierce and gentle. They are warriors and healers. They are everything we feared and everything we hoped for. She smiled, finishing her entry. They are the finest allies the galaxy has ever known. And I believe, in the years to come, they will help us become better than we ever dreamed we could be. This is not the end of their story. This is only the beginning. Outside her window, the stars burned on, infinite and eternal. And among them, humanity had finally found its place, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as friends, as family, as home.